Namaste, welcome back to our channel. Now we are discussing a comprehensive structured guide on how board meetings are to be conducted. Integrating Companies Act 2013, particularly Section 173 and 174, and companies board meetings of board and its powers rules 2014, including Secretarial Standard SS-1 and SEBI LODR regulations for listed companies. First, we'll see Section 173, frequency of board meetings. First meeting must be held within 30 days of the incorporation. Thereafter, minimum of 4 meetings per year with not more than 120 days between 2 meetings. Exemptions for one-person company, small company, dormant company, and startup private companies. Only 1 meeting per half year with a minimum of 90 days gap, that is sufficient. And for Section 8 companies, 1 meeting for every 6 months. 1 meeting needed, at least 1 meeting for every 6 calendar months. This is for Section 8 companies. Now we'll move on to notice of board meeting. A board meeting must be called by giving at least 7 days of written notice to each director at their registered office address, whatever the address they have registered with the company, and via hand delivery or post or electronic means. So the board meeting must be called by giving at least 7 days written notice to each director at their registered address with the company, and via hand delivery or post or electronic means. Failure to give notice by a responsible officer attracts a penalty of 25,000 rupees. And we also discuss shorter notice consents. Shorter notice for the urgent business. This is for urgent business, so it is permitted. The meeting can be called on shorter notice for urgent basis, provided there are at least one independent director. One independent director, if applicable, is present. If no independent director attends, then decision made must be circulated. It is circulated to all directors and will become final only upon ratification by at least one independent director. This ratification by at least one independent director. If there are no independent director, then decision must be ratified by majority of the directors. Then we will see the quorum. Next, we'll move on to quorum. This is Section 174. The quorum is 1/3 of the total strength, or 2 directors, whichever is higher. So total strength excludes vacancies, any ratification excludes vacancies. Suppose if there are any vacancies, so for calculating that we have to exclude the vacancies. And if at all any fraction in calculations is rounded off to 1, fractions will be rounded off to 1. So the directors participating via video conference or audio visual means AVM count toward the quorum. Even the directors who are attending through VC, they also count for the quorum. So if any interested directors, Section 184, if interested directors exceed 2/3 of board strength, then quorum is the number of non-interested directors, provided they are at least 2 directors. Then we'll move on to adjournment. Adjournment for lack of quorum. If the meeting can't be held due to lack of quorum, it is automatically adjourned to the same day, time, and place in the next week or next non-holiday, unless articles state otherwise. Then we will move on to companies meetings of board and its powers rules 2014, and particularly Secretarial Standard 1. Virtual participation, VC or AVM. Meeting may be held via video conferencing or other AV means, provided secure and reliable technology setup is in place. This technology should be in place, and chairman and company secretary, if any, ensure director identification number, recordings, and integrity of these board meeting proceedings. Before the meeting, notice must inform directors of the option to join via VC and provide necessary details. Director should give prior intimation to enable all the arrangements. And at the start of the meeting, a roll call. This is a roll call at the beginning. Captures each remote director's name, location, confirmation of receipt of materials, and that no unauthorized person is present. And also throughout the meeting, maintain quorum, record attendance attendees list, including remote participants, and ensure smooth voting. Minutes and recordings must be stored, draft minutes circulated within 15 days, and directors must confirm accuracy within 7 days. So 7 days time shall be given for director's comment, else deemed approval. And we'll move on to agenda and minutes, Secretarial Standard SS-1. So agenda and notes to agenda circulated. So although not mandatory under the Companies Act 2013 about this agenda, SS-1 requires the agenda and notes to be circulated to at least 7 days before the meeting, outlining items and background. So notice is mandatory under Companies Act. And Secretarial Standard 1, SS-1 requires the agenda notes to agenda to be circulated at least 7 days before the meeting, outlining the items and background. And notice must state serial number, date, time, and venue, and VC link. Supporting documents and background must accompany with the notice or to be sent soon after. Any item not in agenda, no, any item which is not in the agenda requires chairman's and majority of the directors' consent. All the documents, this is for 8 years, all the documents, notice, agenda, notes, minutes must be maintained physically and electronically for at least 8 financial years. And then we will move on to SEBI LODR for listed companies. We'll talk about Regulation 29, Regulation 30, Regulation 47, and Regulation 46. Intimation of board meetings. Regulation 29 for listed entities. Regulation 29 requires prior intimation to stock exchanges about board meetings where the key matters like financial results, dividends, capital raising, buybacks, etc. So will be considered at least 2 working days in advance, excluding intimation and meeting dates. The intimation must include the date of the board meeting. Then Regulation 30, outcome of disclosures within 30 minutes. So after the board meeting outcomes, especially related to financial results or material events, must be sent to stock exchanges within 30 minutes of the meeting of the closure, and also shall disclosure on the website. Regulation 47. Regulation 47 mandates publication of results in newspaper within 48 hours of the board meeting of the conclusion. And SEBI compliances beyond board meeting. Yes. Beyond board meeting, there is we can talk about Regulation 17, 225, Regulation 23, 33, 38. So these listed companies must also comply with several other LODR, SEBI LODR provisions. Regulation 17 to 25, this is the corporate governance committee meetings, familiarization, KMP, appointment, etc. Regulation 23, material related party transactions, and Regulation 46 talks about the website disclosure norms, and Regulation 33, financial results reporting timelines, and Regulation 30A, disclosure of arrangements with related parties within 2 working days. These are all about SEBI LODR for listed companies. We'll see comparative snapshot. So Companies Act requirement, Companies rules, Companies Act rules and Secretarial Standards and LODR regulations. So if under Companies Act 2013, frequency is 4 board meetings per year and 120 days gap between the 2 board meetings. Under Secretarial Standard and rules, the same, exception for 1% companies, small company and startup companies. A notice period, yes, 7 days. Shorter notice allowed if urgent matter. Even Secretarial Standards, agenda and notes to agenda, 7 days notice period. And under SEBI LODR, as we discussed, no intimation to stock exchange 2 working days before meeting. And then quorum, 1/3 of directors are 2, whichever is higher. So this is the VC counts. Even VC attendance also taken to taken for count. And as per Secretarial Standard, maintain throughout the VC roll call. Even in LODR, same as Act, no additional rule regarding the quorum. And short-term notice under Companies Act allowed with independent director and ratification, as we discussed. Even under Secretarial Standards, same procedure, SS-1 consent for unlisted items. And VC and AB participation is permitted, counts for quorum under Companies Act. And in Secretarial Standards, detailed procedures, roll call recordings are given. Minutes under Companies Act is expedited circulation within 15 days, and 7 days time will be given for director's comment. Even Secretarial Standard 1 specifies draft circulation and approval timeline. Exchange intimations required under Regulation 29, Regulation 30 of SEBI LODR. And outcome reporting within 30 minutes to exchanges, newspaper publication within 48 hours, just we have discussed. So then the key takeaways, see, private, public, and one-person companies must follow the provisions under Companies Act and the rules SS-1 Secretarial Standards for board meetings. And unlisted companies, yes, particularly benefit from Secretarial Standards, clarify the agenda preparation, virtual meetings, and documentation standards. For listed companies, yes, SEBI disclosure obligations carry additional obligations under SEBI LODR, especially regarding intimation disclosures and timelines for outcomes. And yes, this is what we have clearly discussed. I think, hope you are clear. So board meeting decisions is a backbone for companies and ensure compliance with Companies Act and SEBI LODR. Subscribe, and we have two channels. One is RR Legal Talks and another one is RR Corporates. Please do subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you will not miss any of our latest updates. Thank you.